Welcome to episode 3 of the Business Fitness Podcast. Today we have special guest John Heenan. John Heenan, we met you many years ago at the 3 to 5 Club.
That's true.
And you run your own business and you're a public speaker.
I don't know about that.
And a business whisperer.
I don't know who came up with that.
What a title.
Business whisperer.
Whoever you hire for your marketing.
I think that was Henry McCrory. Still haven't follows me.
Well, it's very intriguing. So we're going to get into the bones of what that all means.
Okay.
We have a couple of things to cover. Again, please like, share, subscribe, comment, tag anybody that might be interested in what we're doing. We're available on Spotify, YouTube, Apple and Google Podcasts. You'll find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and LinkedIn. Before we start, we'd like to just say that we're looking for a female entrepreneur, guest entrepreneur for future episodes. And you can email us your business problems. We can try and help out. BizFit barriers. What's getting in the way of your business fitness at the moment? And the email address is
hello@thebusinessfitnesspodcast.ie.
Very good. Episode 4, the one after this, is going to be about mental health for the business owner. Coming next, episode 5, we'll be looking at the numbers. We'll have special guest Owen O'Riordan, accountant and business owner, and we'll be talking about the importance of the numbers. What's the important numbers for business owners? So it won't be for everybody, it'll be for people who are, interested in the numbers. And let's move on. Let's get stuck into John Heenan. Very good to have you here today, John.
Thanks very much, John.
Good to be here.
Thanks for travelling from your country to ours.
Well, we'll not get into the politics. Leave the politics out.
Yeah. We're going to start with a little bit about you. We want to get your backstory, find out a little bit about growing up, how you got into business, challenges you may have faced through personally, what's happened along the way. Then we'll ask you about your business, and then tell us all about the 3 to 5 Club, how it can help small business owners.
Okay.
And we'll go from there. Okay.
First question. What did you want to be when you grew up?
I was thinking about that. I think at one stage I wanted to be a doctor. Not a docker, a doctor. Nearly ended up a doctor, mind you. But then I wasn't really great. I wasn't great around blood. And I think the first time we dissected a rat in biology, I think you're passed out, so that wasn't going to work. So, but I think I always wanted to be in control. I think, there was something when I was young. So my dad was a tailor, worked damn hard. My mother was an at-home mom. There's 6 of us. And when I was a young fella, say from about the age of say 10 to 14, I was a runner. So my dad had a place in town in Belfast. There was 2 gentlemen's tailors in Belfast at the time. Mm-hmm. Douglas Wilson, 86 Dublin Road, and Clifford Bryce Smith's 58 Hard Street. And so I'd have gone, picked up took it back to my dad, and he'd seamstresses. And funny, I was just thinking about this coming down the road. I remember one old lady, Edith, she put in the buttonholes, like buttonholes sewn by hand. And Edith was practically blind, but there was nobody could put a buttonhole in like Edith. But anyway, so Douglas Wilson drove a Jaguar. Clifford Bryce Smith drove Ford Cortina 2000E Ghia. My dad drove an Escort. And I think that's where I got into my head. I'm not doing what he does. I'm doing what they're doing. So that had a big influence. And it's funny, it's only years later looking back, you sit and go. And it's funny, I mean, my dad's nickname for me when I was a kid was Cianis Moore, which is, is Irish for big head. I had a picture of the Merc on the wall and all this from about 12, And this is us growing up in West Belfast and Andersonstown, So, but anyway, so that's where it started, I think.
That's great. I love the detail.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So we got what your parents worked at there. How do you think that influenced what you were doing business-wise? Was there a spark of entrepreneurship there that triggered you?
So my dad was a tailor, but I don't think he had much business acumen. He just knew he was a tailor, he was a worker. I think my mother had a bit more cop on, but way back then, back then, she was the private secretary for one of the directors in Harden and Wolff. But when she got married, she had to leave work. Back then, anyway. So I think she definitely was clued in that department. It's funny. I digress for a second. So I gave the eulogy at her funeral there 5 years ago, And I think the only bit I left out was that my mother actually shouldn't have had children. She should have had staff. It gives you an idea what she was like, you know.
Military.
No, I mean, just a lady.
Yes.
And my dad spoiled her rotten. Like, one of the pet names was Queenie, you know, and all this type of stuff. But anyway, and all my dad seemed to do was work, and he had a shed out the back, and he worked. He just worked.
Yeah.
So that obviously had an influence. Growing up in West Belfast as a young Catholic boy, well, you stayed at school because there was no point leaving school. You couldn't get a job. So you went on to further education. They did computers and was the Poly when I went to it. It's now the new University of Ulster, Jordanstown. And I did computers, so I learned how to program in Fortran, Pascal, COBOL, and something else. The plan was to go to America. I had a second cousin, I think, was a director in IBM New York. I worked in the bakery delivering bread, doing a spare man during the summer.
Yeah.
I decided I'd work there when I graduated before I go to the States. Went to Greece in the holidays, came back, and I never made it to America.
Really?
I just stayed working. Met a guy in a party in Dublin who owned a courier business. They talked about, back in those days, that's when the customs were on the border, and they sent a van from Belfast down to the border and from Dublin up, and they swapped around and cleared customs, all this stuff. And they were talking about, I will open the office in Belfast. I'd do that.
Yeah.
And I tortured him. And that was from April to August, and eventually said, come down. And I started working in Dublin in October 1982. So they went bust in 1985, July 85. And I kept the thing in the north going without telling anybody that the southern company had gone bust. Probably totally illegal, but anyway. And then started off my own on the 4th of August 1985.
Very good.
That's interesting.
On a wing and a prayer.
Yeah. As often happens.
Yeah, and I mean...
Did you have any capital?
No, of course not. But I had a friend. I think as long as you got a friend or something. And that got us started. But the one thing was that I had relationships with the clients. So I contacted all the clients and said, look, I'm going to start my own from the 4th of August. Would you come with me? And I took literally all of them stayed with us. And so we hit the ground running. Okay. Comes up.
A good start.
Yeah. Interesting.
How hard was it for you with the transition from moving from the old to the new in terms of building the business and having the full responsibility on your shoulders?
My dad taught me two things when I was growing up. He said, son, one, do more than you're paid for and you'll never be out of work. And secondly, give more and work as if it's your own business, and God willing, someday you'll get one of your own. And so, I mean, that was just a principle. And you're up at 5 a.m, getting a load, driving it down the board. I mean, you're finishing at 10, 11 at night. You ever thought of it? You just did it. I find it quite interesting when you deal with younger people today. And what? You want me to... And you're going, seriously?
What did the first few years of that look like?
It was exciting, let's say. It's a bit like... growing up in West Belfast was interesting. So I grew up throwing stones and petrol bombs at the Brits, as you do. And we had this thing, keep moving, because it's harder to hit a moving target. And it was no joke, because the army were shooting rubber bullets. And if you got hit with a rubber bullet, like, it bloody hurt. So, I don't know, I had this thing built into me. If you just kept moving, kept going, don't stop, you know, eventually you'll something will happen.
Yeah.
And I think that was sort of part of the basis that I worked on. Just keep going. You never know what'll happen. And I think I am a born optimist. I have a couple of things stood by me. So, I mean, I'm a believer. I believe two things. God doesn't make junk, and he didn't create me to fail. And in some of the lowest things, those two things kept me sane, got me to get up, keep going, don't worry, it'll come good, just don't quit.
Yeah.
You know?
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
I just had another question there just to keep it. It was your success turning point. So kind of when did you know it would work for you?
I didn't, and I never, this is part of, and I've often tried to go through this in my head, I don't think I ever considered myself successful at any stage, because I mean, I don't even know if I knew how to ask that question. And now when I look back and sit and think, if you think about it, most of us get into business and we think we're supposed to know all the answers. I mean, you don't do anything. If you took up golf or tiddlywinks, you'd go and find out, get a coat.
You learn as you go.
Yeah, we get into business and we assume we're supposed to know all the answers, and we think we're the only one that ever had this issue. Nobody else has ever had a cash flow problem before. Nobody else has had an issue with it.
Staff.
It's mental.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure where we all get that from. So, and I had no definition for success. I didn't understand that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting when we get to talk about the 3 to 5. Meeting this guy Chuck Blakeman was probably the thing that got me to wise up to myself.
Sure.
You know, so.
I suppose if you ask anybody, what's their definition of success, you're going to get different answers every time.
Yeah, well, if you look at Maslow's hierarchy, survival, success, and significance. So survival, it's all about me. Success, it's all about what you think about me. So it's still about me. And significance is about making a difference in the world about me. And that leap, the interesting thing is, if you focus on significance, you'll get success and survival anyway.
Yeah.
But,
Well,
that is interesting stuff.
Could you give us 3 books that would have inspired you as a young guy?
Okay,
Maybe
the first book,
maybe pre-business even, if there is one.
Well, the first one was Zig Ziglar, See You at the Top.
Okay.
The second one was The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz, I think it was his name.
Yeah.
And the third one, if we go back to the early days, what was another one? Frank Betcher, How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Selling. And all those books were probably written in the 50s.
Yeah.
They all had a big influence on you, did they?
Yes, in that it taught me what was possible.
Sure.
Okay. And then I read a book many years later by Ben Zander called The Art of Possibility. And I mean, just to develop that as a mindset. And I met a guy, I was about 24 or 5 at the time, called Wally Minto. And I lost his book. I bought a book and he wrote on the inside of it to John, Learn to Live Life at a Conscious Level. I opened it and read it and I said, Wally, what's that mean? And he said, think about what you think about, son. I go, oh, right. And the more I've thought about that, if you think about it, think about what you think about. You can only hold one thought in your head at any one time. It's a psychological whatever fact.
Yeah, this is true.
And our challenge for most of us is, I think Mae West said it, I used to be as pure as Snow White, but I drifted. We'll freaking drift, right? And, we talk about, you hear lots about vision, okay? And it's true. I mean, the 5 priorities for a business owner should be vision, cash, people, key business relationships, and learning, in that order. And vision, what is vision? Well, the interesting thing is that vision controls perception. And perception controls reality. So vision is just my view of what it's going to be like or whatever. That's going to control my perception of it. So if I see myself as a victim, guess what my perception is going to be?
Yeah.
If I see myself as a victor, guess what my perception is going to be? And guess what my reality is going to be based on my perception?
Yeah.
And so this whole thing about, you create your own, life is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Okay, and so, but you have to learn that. That's in that mental muscle of the minute you get a thought that's not serving you, replace it. But if you don't have something to replace it with, it's a bit like if you want to go on a diet and lose some weight. Well, if all you've got in the fridge is sweetie stuff, and I'll not eat the Kinder bar. Well, I'll eat the Kit Kat. You got to have something else in there. You want to replace it with that's healthy.
It's kind of self-awareness, nearly, isn't it?
It is.
It's even beyond self-awareness. As I say, it is. The guy John Avanzini said, look, you can't stop the birds flying over your head, but you can't stop them building a nest in your hair. Okay? Yeah. And so what tends to happen is we get these fleeting thoughts and we capture them, and then we feed the bloody thing. And the old story about the Indian chief with the grandson, and the grandson's telling there's a good wolf and a bad wolf. Which one wins? The one you feed.
Yeah.
And most of us are feeding the bad wolf.
That's true.
Yeah,
I love that saying.
Yeah.
You'd mentioned mindset there recently. The last statement then, I was just curious, kind of how has been in business changed you personally over the years?
You probably need to ask somebody else about that. Maybe ask Lorraine, my darling wife, aka the long-suffering Lorraine. How has it changed me? I think there is nothing like business as a form of education. It is like education on steroids, if you allow it to be. Okay, so it has impacted me because, I mean, there's two things, you know, the people you read, people you associate with in the books you read, and again, come back to growing up, my dad would always say, son, show me the company you're keeping in the books you read, and I'll show you where you'll be in 5 years. And growing up in West Belfast, that was very important. Every now and again, my dad always encouraged you to bring your mates home. And every now and again say, don't bring Joe back. Daddy, Joe's dead on. Don't you bring Joe back. And 6 months later, Joe was either dead or in Long Cash, which was prison.
Yeah.
You know, so, and if you've got kids, what's the company to keep? That's the biggest challenge. You know, so.
Okay.
How do you keep yourself fit now, physically and mentally? What sort of practices do you?
Well, okay, from a physical point of view, like yourself, I used to do a bit of running and marathons and prided myself in going to the gym 3, 4, 5 days a week and all this stuff. And then through a friend, I met this guy called Albert, God bless him, who teaches a form of training called super slow, which is basically moving weights very slow. So it's about bringing the muscle groups to exhaustion. And I remember the first time I went to see him, and he says to me, do you train? Look at me, I'm fucking Adonis, of course I do, you know. He says, are you any strong? He says to me, what? He said, are you any stronger this year than you were last year? I was thinking it's a trick question, you know.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I said, how would you know? He says, well, are you moving any heavier weights? I was sitting thinking, I've been going to this gym peak physique for 14 years. I haven't changed any. You know, it was half an hour on the treadmill and half an hour pushing things, you know. And then next door to the coffee shop. And if we were being good, me and McCormick, my mate, we would share a Danish. On a Friday, we got one each, you know.
Yeah.
And that was the routine. He says, every week you come here, you'll improve in strength. Because we'll measure the weight over a period of time, the time under load. And it's literally like doing a leg press, and it's 10 seconds out, don't lock the knees, and 10 seconds back, and don't drop the plate.
Time over tension.
And it's about not allowing momentum to get in there, because momentum's an outside energy. And it is torturous. I mean, now at that 15 years. So physically, and I am convinced, Stephen, that Paddy, that has had a huge impact on me mentally. Because if you're feeling physically strong, it does something in your head.
You feel mentally strong.
100%.
Of course.
Yeah.
When you just said about growing up in West Belfast, did growing up in Belfast impact your journey in any way?
I think so. Obviously, I mean, how you're surrounded. I mean, and the interesting thing about growing up in Northern Ireland in those times, nobody's got the monopoly on the misery. You know, I had mates at school shot dead, and uncle was murdered, and everybody has that. Yeah. I think the important thing is not to dwell on it and use everything. I mean, you have a choice. Life, as you go through life, things will either be stumbling blocks or stepping stones, and that's your choice. Yeah. And I think I've been fortunate enough. I mean, when my dad's younger brother was murdered, I remember coming up the stairs, and my parents' bedroom was the top of the stairs, and him kneeling, praying for the guy who killed his brother that day. So that's the home I was brought up in.
Wow.
So it had a big impact.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's heavy. When you're on your business journey and your own personal journey, you would have come across, say, self-doubt, from time to time, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So how would you have dealt with that? How would you have dealt with the doubt on your, am I doing the right move? Am I doing the right thing here? You know.
I never intentionally made a bad decision in my life, but by God, someone turned out to be crap, right? And that was sort of a bit of a realization. And there's a few things came along. You're saying like the self-doubt. So to be honest, I probably would have read a book or listened to, you know, I'm saying a CD. It wasn't a CD in those days, you know, a tape deck, you know.
Bit of escapism.
Well, not escapism. Try and remind myself that it's okay. You know, you're worthy type of thing. It's, you know, to be able to not take yourself too seriously. You know, it's a journey. It's like anything. You know, the first day you go to the gym, you're not leg pressing 500 pounds. It takes a bit to build it up, and to remind myself of that. And I think part of what can be a challenge for us sometimes is that we mentally set ourselves up to fail.
How so?
We create expectations for ourselves, I think.
Too high? Unrealistic, maybe?
not necessarily. I think we set ourselves up for failure by creating expectations which are dependent on the actions of others as opposed to myself.
Very good.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's maybe one of the things. I mean, you only get disappointed when an expectation you have for somebody doesn't get met.
Very true.
Now, without getting philosophical, what right have you to have an expectation for anybody other than yourself?
True. Yeah.
And that took a long time to get to understand some of that stuff. And funny, I was just thinking, coming down the road, like, I mean, back in 85, 86, 87, we were in a courier business and we had an operation in Belfast and Dublin and all this stuff and up and down the road. And I remember going, you know, I'd drive from Belfast to Dublin to meet somebody and they weren't there. You know, you can imagine what was going on in my head. And that's before there was a motorway. That's when it took you 4 hours to get from Belfast to Dublin, you know. And there's one guy, and I'll not mention his name, but I chased that account for about 3 years. And we got it. And I ended up taking he and his wife out for dinner one night. And then I found out that during those 3 years, his 5-year-old child was dying of leukemia. And it taught me a lesson. You have no idea what's going on in somebody else's
That's
life.
very
You
true.
have no right
That's very true.
to
Yeah.
create an expectation other than find. And Chuck, you know, who behind the 3 to 5 club, he talks about serve, don't sell. Try and find out how to serve somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to do because it's, you know, my favourite radio station is WIIFM. What's in it for me? And we are all like that. We are all inherently selfish. And you start thinking, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
Well, get a group photograph. Who do you look for first?
We're programmed that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So
Your
it's okay.
ego takes over.
Yeah.
Well, if you allow it, okay. But at least if you get to understand, well, that's the way I am. I have to train this thing. Okay. Otherwise, it's going to dictate to me. It's a bit like, you know, you ever go into some of these places and you see people with young children and the brat's going mental, and you're saying, would you ever, young thing needs a boot in the ass, or maybe the mother and father need a smack first.
Yeah.
Not politically correct, apologies about that, but still in all, same thing.
I've often
You know,
thought it.
The Zig Ziglar, I always remember, and I read this about Zig Ziglar, he said, if you have children, you will either spend time with them when they're young, helping them make good choices and directing them, okay? Or you'll spend time with them when they're older, bailing them out of trouble. You will spend time with them. You just decide where you're going to put the time in. Trust me, put it in the front end. It's a lot easier than putting it in the back end.
Yeah. I remember you telling us that one time at the 3 to 5 club,
Yeah.
and it really resonated. I think my daughter Lila was only very young, and I remember that really sank in, and I was thinking, you know, well, I already intended on doing a good job, but it really kind of reverberated there.
100%. And, you know, rearing children's a full-time job, you know.
What would be the best piece of advice you ever got that you can kind of, that springs to mind along the way?
Funny, so the first time I went bust in 1991, I have an old friend Pat in Dublin. I rang Pat up looking a bit of sympathy, and he says to me, Johnson, let me tell you something. The greater the pain, the more you needed to have learnt the lesson. Get on with it. And he put the phone down.
Some tough love.
That is tough love.
That
Right
was
there. Yeah.
took me a while to appreciate it, but it was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me. And then secondly, when I met Chuck and he talked about this business maturity date, that was probably the other thing. They were two things that wow.
You said there about going bust. What was your biggest failure? Tell me.
I didn't have any failures. I had just lots of lessons.
Just lots of lessons.
Very good.
That's what they say. That's what they say. Well, what did you learn from them?
One of the best lessons I learned was when we lost a family home. I lost a house, Lorraine lost a home, and I didn't understand that.
How long ago was this, John?
That was 2011.
2011.
Not too long ago.
Wow.
No, 10 years ago. 10 years ago on the 18th of August, packed up, moved out for midnight. It was interesting.
Wow.
Basically homeless, ended up moving in with a friend for a couple of months.
But that's big.
It was interesting, let's say.
Right.
But I'm blessed. I mean, the first time I went bus in 91, and there's a difference between going bus and bankrupt, right?
Yeah.
Bus is when you haven't signed all those personal guarantees. Bankrupt is when you have signed all those personal guarantees.
Yeah.
And I've sort of learned to read before you sign things, John.
Yeah.
But anyway, interesting. I remember it was a Tuesday night, came in the back door, and we lived in Crumlin at the time. And I says, Lorena's gone. And all she did, she gave me a hug and said, sure, you've done it before, you do it again. And that's all she ever said.
Great wife.
And
Wow.
they came and they took my Merc and her sports car and all that good stuff, and
You started again.
go again. And they're going again, and I learnt this. It's funny. The this is something you really need to get to understand. We think when we lose it all, we go back to zero. You don't. You've still got a huge amount of knowledge, experience, contacts, wisdom that you didn't have back at zero.
Lose that.
So the emotion takes you back to zero, and that's a bit you really have to fight hard, that bloody emotion. Your emotions are liars.
Yeah.
Okay? And understanding that.
That's powerful.
But they're interesting times.
Would you be where you are now if you hadn't had those failures or lessons?
I don't think so. I mean, I think
lessons.
it's all part of it. I mean, you know, it's a journey.
Yeah.
And if you didn't have them, and I wouldn't have met some of the people I've met, and you know, sometimes sit and think, well, what if you had to go into America? Well, I didn't go. What's the point of wasting bloody time thinking of what if I did? I didn't.
What ifs, all the what ifs.
You know, and what if you had you know, like I was a ginger haired, specky, freckly kid. You know, not a lot going for you. So you had to learn.
Hair?
We didn't know you were ginger.
Yeah, I've no hair now. No hair now.
I
mean, but you know, so you had to learn how to engage. And you're never getting a fucking.
So you got back into the same industry then?
Yeah, it's only bloody
the whole time.
3 times.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Third time lucky.
Well, I don't know.
It's going good for you at the moment.
Yeah, and we sort of time moved on, got into different areas of it, and yeah, I mean, blessed the last 10 years been absolutely phenomenal.
That's why there's a Lamborghini outside.
Funny, I had a Lamborghini on the wall too, but the ramps in West Belfast, the Lamborghini would have got stuck.
Yeah, I'd say so. Brilliant.
So the question I'd like to delve into would be the element of luck. I remember you speaking about luck before, and you had an interesting take on it in relation to business.
I think luck is when preparedness meets opportunity.
That's exactly what we said.
And the thing about it is there's no end to opportunities. The problem for most of us is I've got the head down, working hard at what I'm doing. I don't even see the opportunity. It could knock me down. I get up, dust myself off, and continue on as if nothing ever happened. And that's the biggest challenge again. So back to vision. Okay? So, and think about this. You know, if you're running and your head's up, when the head goes down, you know you've got the person beat. And think about you and your business. Have you got the head down, working hard and turn up? Have you got the head up, looking where we're going? And it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
And so the opportunity, there is no end to opportunities. And the thing about it is, I mean, if making comparisons will rob you of your joy. And try not to get into there. I mean, people can copy what you do, but they can't copy who you are.
Yeah.
Okay? So working on figuring out how to be the best version of you, that's what makes your business. I don't give a damn. I always find this really interesting. If you ever go to some of these, Swiss villages or towns, whatever, and there's 50 watch shops in the one street.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Well, how does it work?
Well, obviously, okay, they've got different brands and different whatever, but they figured out how they offer something different. And also figuring out, I mean, this is one of the things to figure out. When I met Chuck and he talked about your ideal lifestyle. So most of us get into business with 2 intentions and 1 hope. We intend to work hard, we intend to make some money, and we hope we get a nice life out of it.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
You work hard, you make some money, sometimes not enough, but somehow it just doesn't seem to all come together.
Yeah.
Okay, so what he talks about is you get what you intend, not what you hope for. So if you have children, I mean, you intend for them to grow up and mature. Why don't we intend for our businesses to grow up and mature? What does a mature business look like to you? Most of us only ask their businesses to give us money. The money's no bloody use to you if I haven't got the time to enjoy it. How many of us have sort of, worked blooming hard, get the money, and we buy the holiday place, and the wife and kids go down for the 2 months, and we go down for the odd weekend, and
That's
we're here.
very common.
Nonsense. Now, okay, maybe you're enjoying being on your own and playing the golf and whatever, so you have to be careful around that area. But you get the point of what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, figuring out how much time and how much money do you want or do you need in your life? And if you can figure that out, then go and look at your business and figure out, what does my business need to look like to give me the amount of time and the amount of money that I want? And that's the bit when I met this guy, Chuck Blakeman, that was the most valuable thing to me. I have been in business, built business. I went bust because I built it past the point of where I should have on several occasions.
Yeah.
Because you just, what do? You just keep going and keep going, keep going, keep going. You end up over trading. You run out of cash. The business was great, but I no cash. So, how much time? How much money? What's it need to look like? There's a brilliant book by a guy called Bo Burlington. It's called Small Giants. He says, "Don't be big, be great." That's how you differentiate yourself. Ignore it. There's nothing to do with anybody else is doing or whatever. And we all get carried away with these. I mean, look at these corporations, Apples and IBMs and Microsoft. I mean, that's a different species to a small business.
Yeah.
The challenge for a lot of us is we just think a corporation's a small business that's grown up. It's not. It's a totally different thing altogether. And too many of us torture ourselves with
That's
that.
very true.
Yeah.
I'm guilty of that myself.
You don't, I mean, and I have friends, I mean, worth millions.
Yeah.
And they're now sort of in their 70s and they've 2 and 3 kids and they love them. Don't fucking particularly like them, by the way, excuse the French. You know, what are you going to do? Leave them 3 million each? And they're going, shit, I don't want to do that. I don't, the ones she's hanging around with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So money's a responsibility as well. And so we somehow buy into this nonsense of working hard. And another challenge for business owners is that we rob the business on the way through. We've been told put all this money into pension. You know, 50 grand, but at the end of the year, you know, I haven't got the 50 grand cash, but you've made it in paper, put it into the pension, it'll save you tax. So you end up with this huge pension pot at the end of the
Is it a false economy?
and your health is bollocks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be great? Think about this. If you had just retired March 2020 with your 10 million in your pension pot and you're going to go travelling the world, how's that working out for you?
Yeah.
You know, anyway, that's not a start.
So, what's your retirement plans then on that
I
subject?
have no intention of ever retiring.
Why is that?
What would I do? I'd die. I mean,
You could travel the world and
I do that anyway.
Stop worrying about the business and
I don't worry about the business.
nobody emailing you.
But sure, I wouldn't feel loved. I mean, you think about it, people talk about, this, you know, work-life balance.
Yeah.
That's bollocks, excuse my French. Life is not balanced. There's times when your business needs every ounce of energy and time that you have. There's times when your family needs every ounce of energy that you have. You got to be prepared to, you know, the purpose of a business, of any business, is to acquire and retain customers profitably. The purpose of a business from a business owner's point of view is to give you the time and the money to have the freedom to choose what to do with your time and your money.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. It's the freedom. How many of us are in a prison? Right? In fact, we're not even in a prison. We're hostages. At least a prisoner, you know when you're going to get out, and you might get out earlier for good behaviour. As a hostage, you have no idea when you're getting out. And what you did yesterday, you got reprimanded for, and what you do tomorrow, and you know, it's nuts.
Mm. I remember back in the 3 to 5 club, just talking about retirement, you had this, you know, the philosophy of retirement came from the industrial age way of thinking. Tell me a little bit about that. What was your thoughts on that?
So retirement only came, Bismarck introduced retirement, I can't remember, 1855 or whatever the hell it was. And, I mean, it is a bankrupt idea. Mm. So, we were not, we weren't intended to retire.
Yeah.
I mean, I am convinced this is part of the issue. I genuinely believe in a creative God that created us with a purpose and a destiny. My purpose and destiny was not to sit and vegetate. And I hope Vinty, my friend in Spain, doesn't say this. Vinty retired to Spain, him and Bruna. I swear to God, if I see another picture of a dinner and a glass of wine,
What's wrong with that?
every bloody day. Seriously, Vinty? I mean,
It can lead to alcoholism, okay?
hell, I mean,
And a
come
certain
on.
level of obesity.
You know,
yeah.
I'm half joking, but I mean, you got to have some purpose.
Yeah.
What are you getting up? I mean,
But could that just be the difference between you and him?
I don't know. I don't believe so. Okay? And I genuinely believe that you need, and I mean, I've read this and people will tell you this. I mean, you better get some other habit or interest going before you get to retirement. You've got to have ready started. A guy called Charles Handy wrote, I think it was called the second wave or something, or the second
That's
curve
right.
or
You were talking
something.
about the second wave.
You know,
yeah.
and even in business, so things are going great and all the rest of it. what do? We tend to sort of then lavish it upon ourselves. That's when you need to make the investment in the next thing, because
And
the
keep
dip's
going.
going to come.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Most of us end up in like sort of business like the waves the Tory up and down and up and down. There's a difference in this concept in your own head. How do you see money, and how do you see money in your business? What's the difference between an expense and investment? Do you even use that language?
An attitude, I suppose.
100%.
Yeah. How you
But the
see it.
problem is, I mean, in Chuck's book, that 3 to 5, he talks about the 7 stages of business ownership. And stage 4 is one of the most dangerous to build. I'm making money.
Yeah.
Now I've got something to lose, so I hunker down and protect it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I should take the money and invest it, to move from stage 4 to stage 5, which is when you get off the treadmill, okay? And you've got to get back a second, we talked about a mature business. A mature business at its lowest definition is 1, you're not the sole producer, and 2, it'll make money when you're not there, and you can leave it for up to a month and you don't have to come back and stitch it all together again.
Yeah.
So what would your business have to look? How do you get your business to where you're not the sole producer, and 2, you could leave it for a month?
What's the longest you've left your business, and how was it when you came back?
Let me see, what year was this? This is 2019. Either 2018 or 2019. I think I was away for about 10 weeks. It's interesting. I said to Sharon, who sort of would be my right hand person, I said, Sharon, I don't think I'm going to be here probably for the next 2 or 3 months. And I wasn't sure whether to be insulted or feel good about myself with the answer. She says, why do you think we'll notice?
Isn't that great?
Yeah. That's what you want.
But it didn't happen by accident. That was
No.
intentional, and it was based on the principles that Chuck talks in his
Yeah.
book.
Fantastic.
You know? Yeah.
So, John, tell me, do you ever suffer from imposter syndrome?
I don't think so.
No.
I've been out of my comfort zone,
Okay.
but I've come to understand that, I mean, that's why the fruit's at the end of the limb, because you have to go out in the limb to get it.
Always, everything
Okay.
happens. That's
Yeah, and I mean, it's Jim Rohn said something interesting. He said, "Don't wish that things were easy; wish that you were better." And you know, life is a continual process of growth.
yeah.
You know what? There's an expression that says, you know, growing old is mandatory, but growing up is optional.
Yeah.
And to continually grow, the day you stop growing is the day you start to die.
Yeah.
And so back to the thing, the books you read and the company you keep. And if you look at most people as they get older, their interests and their circle of people, of friends, get smaller.
Yeah.
When you should be doing the exact opposite. Think about it. You've more time and probably more resource, but you become a boring old fart, excuse the expression.
Yeah.
Nobody wants you about. Why? Because you talk about retirement and all this crap. You know, so where you put your focus. I mean, I'd much prefer to wear out than rust out.
Yeah.
Okay, so so the imposter, and you think about the imposter syndrome, you know, what is that? And I've read some surveys, like something like, you know, 86% of CEOs at some stage go through, and basically what that means is they feel that they've got to a place where they're not worthy, okay, of the position.
Yeah.
And there's a principle called the Peter Principle, and the Peter Principle stands for where you continually get promoted until you end up getting promoted to a level of incompetence. And that's where the imposter syndrome is, because on the way up, I'm entitled to this, I'm due this, I'm good at this, and you keep getting promoted, and then you end up somewhere and you go, holy shit, I'm out of my depth or whatever. And that comes from you. I mean, you will feel an imposter whenever you feel you don't have the answer.
Yeah.
Who the hell said you had to have the answer?
Yeah.
You have to know where to get the answer. And that's one of the great things about the 3 to 5 club. It is the one place where people can turn and say, I don't know. Where else can you say, I don't know?
Yeah.
You can't go in and say to the bank, I don't know. They'll cut the overdraft. You can't say to your staff, I don't know. They'll put their resumes out. You
Yeah.
can't go home and say to your partner, I don't know. They'll worry and not sleep too. There's 2 of you now, not sleeping and worrying.
Yeah.
So you can't, who do you say it to?
Yeah.
And especially men, and you're going to do the mental health thing next week. I mean, that is huge.
Yeah.
To create this environment. And I think, you know, I'm not getting into it, but I mean, being able to finish work and go for a pint and have a conversation and basically have a brain dump, for the want of a better term. Sure, now you can't even have half a pint and you'll be over the limit and all this. Not, and it's not, I get it, I understand it, but the principle behind it.
Yeah.
So where women talk, I mean, they're okay, good at this, but
Yeah.
we don't.
No.
Not so much.
Yeah. And so to create that environment whereby it's okay to say, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm a bit lost.
Yeah. How do you employ? What do you do when you want to employ someone? You know, and you're growing your business and just the simple things. And then it gets to, I mean, one of the biggest challenges I think when it comes to businesses and for small business owners is that most of us are managing our businesses. We're not leading our businesses.
Tell us a bit more about that.
So managers make decisions. Leaders ask questions. Managers are the most unproductive people in a business. Okay. But we've all been taught, well, who was your man? Taylor Woodrow, whatever, going back to the Industrial Revolution.
I thought you were going to say Taylor Swift.
No. Too old for that.
Paddy's into that.
All the songs, love it.
So if you go back and look at that, okay, so the workers are stupid and lazy. That's why you mean the managers are smart and motivated. That's where this came from, okay? And so if you look at a lot of businesses, they're like daycare centres for adults. They've left their brain outside. Chuck's third book was rehumanizing the workplace by giving everybody their brains back. We talk about, you know, getting people. Oh, you say the word employee, the business owners, and watch the emotional response, the eye roll. That's your fault. Okay. These people can run their own lives, make decisions, all the rest of it. They come in here and you're telling them what to do, telling them when to start, telling them when to have a lunch break,
Yeah.
Okay. There's a brilliant book, Maverick by Ricardo Semler. Okay.
Maverick.
Yeah. Phenomenal book. His father, this is back in the 60s, started in Brazil, they made industrial meat slicers and dishwashers and all this type of stuff. He ended up taking it over in his late 20s or something, I think, and transformed that business. So he took it from a business turning with 200 employees, turning, I don't know, 3 million to 2,000 employees, turning 3 billion or something. It's phenomenal. But one of the first things he did was have people start at different times. And instead of having a big assembly plant, he broke it down into pods where there was 8, 10 or 12 people working on something. They had people working on an assembly plant who tightened 2 bolts. What do you do? I tighten 2 bolts. Do you know what that is? Didn't even know what the hell was being manufactured. So involving people, if you engage me, allow me to be involved in the decision making. It's like sales managers setting a sales target. That's not my target, it's yours. I have no ownership of it. Involve me in it. I mean, Chuck tells a great story about they needed, the photocopier was playing up, needed to replace it. So being a hero, he went out and bought this thing at $2,000. Fantastic. And the girl said, "What's that, Chuck?" It's a photocopier. You said you need a new photocopier. Anytime it's stuck or the paper is stuck, Chuck, your paper stuck in your fork or your pallet truck or your photocopier.
Yeah.
Eventually, about 2 weeks later, he put it back in the box, took it back, told them to go and buy one. They bought one of $400. It was their photocopier. They dealt with it. And I was thinking there, a forklift. I mean, we use forklifts. What the hell am I buying a forklift for? I don't drive it. Get the guys who drive it.
Yeah.
Engaged. It'll be theirs, not yours.
Empower your staff to make decisions.
Well, it's not empowering because you can't empower anybody. I mean, you're not God, right? Some of us may think we are. Right?
Okay,
you don't empower anybody. You create an environment for people to take part and take ownership. So
Okay, interesting.
that's what it is.
So is that what you would call it? It's creating the environment?
That's your job.
Culture?
Autonomy.
That's your job as a business owner.
Yeah.
Culture.
Yeah.
How many of us have allowed somebody else in our business to create the culture? How many of us have got somebody in our business, some ass? And I've met too many business owners who were afraid. I've seen business owners go and get an office outside of their business because they didn't like going into their own business.
That's scary.
It is scary.
Actually,
it has happened
that's
so many
extreme.
times.
That's extreme. Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, having clarity around where you're going, it's back to the vision thing. The more clarity you have around it. So how do I get me? One of the questions is, how do I get me to do more of what I know to do? Well, get more clarity around it. When it's fuzzy, I tend to make bad decisions. When I'm clarity and clear about where I'm going and what I'm doing, I make a better decision.
Wow.
What do you look for when you're hiring somebody?
What do I look for? Attitude, first of all. I mean, an energy, just about them. Okay? I have hired some, made some bad decisions.
We can all
This is
relate.
a whole new conversation.
We're going to get you back in episode 8 for the crazy
Yeah,
people that we
yeah.
heard
Oh, good
discussion.
God.
Give us one example.
Well, I'll give you an example.
give
Part
us
of the challenge is most of us tend not to employ people till we're past the point of needing them. So we're now in a hurry, right?
Very
To need somebody. And that basically, can you fog a mirror type of thing. Not as bad as that, but nearly as bad as that. And it is, some of that has been disastrous.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you shouldn't pray for people to be hit by a bus, but on the occasion I have done, you know,
Yeah.
until I caught myself on and sort of said, so get back with, deal with it, okay?
Have a tough
the
conversation.
have the conversation. There's a brilliant little book called Fierce Conversations.
I know it.
Have the conversation.
It was recommended to me recently.
Yeah,
Yeah.
brilliant. Just have the conversation. This is where, I mean, it's a bit like Jim Collins talks about it in that book, Good to Great. You know, make sure you got the right people on the bus and the right people in the right seats on the bus.
Yeah.
And I remember Chuck talking about his first employee, or not, or stakeholders, he would refer to her as Krista. And he said to her, Krista, over the first 6 to 9 months, I want you to make a list, 2 lists. One, the stuff you don't like doing and the stuff you're not good at. And that'll be, we'll get the next employee to do that, and then we'll get that next person to do exactly the same. So if you were only working on the stuff you like doing and the stuff you were good at, do you think you might perform better?
Of course.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. But sure, when's the last time you said to somebody, only do what you like and only do what you're good at, and we'll get somebody else to do the rest? Who likes to do that? There are people like to do the things that I don't like to do and you don't like to do.
Strangely
Different
enough.
strokes for different folks.
100%.
What's wrong with them?
Yeah.
That's good.
But again, that's where you get back to this leadership and management. So ask yourself the question, look back at last week or this week and say, how many decisions did I make in my business?
Yeah.
How many questions did I ask? And I remember reading about your man, Ricardo Semler, and the business they own is Semco in Brazil. And I think he celebrated his 16th year of not making a decision in his business. And it was just growing rapidly.
That sounds nice.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
Well, it's having people, so you want people with a shared vision and common values. And that's the problem. When you have people in your business, you don't share your values.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the issue.
How do you establish that early on?
Well, first of all, you better figure out what your own values, what your beliefs are. So think about this. What's your language? If you say I can't or I can, that's a belief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you're having this conversation with people, start asking and listen to their language.
What do you find is your biggest challenge right now?
Practicing what I preach. It never changes.
The irony.
Yeah, I mean, I think I said to you, I mean, between COVID and Brexit, the business has doubled in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
And that creates challenges stroke opportunity.
Of course.
And as long as I'm always looking, I mean, I always believe there's a solution. I don't have to reinvent it. Somebody else is doing this. One of the things I always did, you know, so my day job, the fulfillment business, if I was going to the States or whatever, I just would have Googled, I remember going to North Carolina, or Raleigh in North Carolina. I just Googled fulfillment companies in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I rang up 2 of them. Just said, hey, I'm John, I'm from Ireland, I'm in the same business you could have called and say hello.
Yeah.
And I learned more and met more of the nicest people I've ever met.
Yeah.
And it was just curiosity. And so I'd suggest, you know, do that. There's always somebody doing it better than you, no matter what it is.
You just reminded us of something there, because I think you told us that story many years ago.
Yes, you did.
And myself and Paddy contacted a place over in the UK who were sharing, I think, a web provider, and we asked the web provider, and they put us in touch with these guys over in, where were we? Glasgow.
Glasgow.
Well, yeah, we went over to Glasgow, and we met a company who did the same thing as us, but were much better at it.
Bigger.
We went in, and this guy, lovely guy called Adrian, he picked us up in his lovely flash BMW.
His 3-piece suit.
And we were instantly right going, something to learn here.
Yeah.
Went back to the business. It was probably 3 or 4 times the size of what we had, and he had 5 years ahead maybe.
Yeah.
And he showed us every step along the way, and it set us up then for
Well, what we found is that we were actually on that path. That everything that we spoke about, there was a lot of reassurances there that his kind of values and our values were very much in line. It was the same principle we were trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And we realized that it was a lot of reassurance that we were making all the right moves. But we were able to see what his moves were as well, you know.
That word you said there, reassurance, the most important word. If you think about it, when you go and buy something, what's the first thing we look for?
Approval.
Reassurance we haven't made a mistake.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. And so it's important. That's why, I mean, I have a bit of a challenge, I think, when I see on LinkedIn all these coaches and life this and all this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, go and learn from the people who've been there before.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, we use expression, people with bullet holes in them. I say, I've been bust twice, bankrupt once, lost a family home. Trust me, I know what the pain's like. If I can help anybody avoid even a wee bit, trust me, you don't have to do it.
Yeah.
And, I mean, the other thing too is financial ruin is not death. That was the other thing I had to get over myself.
Yeah.
And strictly speaking, nobody gives a shit. Right?
No.
You're all concerned about what other people think.
The sun will come up tomorrow and people will get on with their business. And
I remember, I can't know who told me once, said, get yourself a bucket of water and stick your fist in it and pull it out. And you see the length of time it takes for that void to be filled. That's how much you'll be missed. So get over yourself.
Get over yourself, absolutely.
You're not that important.
No.
Yeah.
So, John, you mentioned there that with COVID, your business has, doubled more, if that. And you're quite a lot busy at the moment. Do you find now, when you look at with Chuck's philosophy of the 3 to 5, when you're working on the business, not in the business, at the minute, what ways are working for you? Are you back working in the business?
Well, I'm trying to get out of it. I mean, when COVID hit, we had, I think, 5 or 7 people went off in furlough for pregnancy and, asthma and different reasons, whatever. And as you know, online sales took off. So I mean, we've been on the back foot. I ended up in the warehouse picking and packing. I mean, I can't even remember how to use scanners and stuff. Like, it was nuts. But anyway, and then, as I say, with Brexit, even more so, because Northern Ireland is in a special situation in that we can ship both into Europe and the UK So we've had a lot of clients from the UK move into Northern Ireland, and from the south move up north, and we're doing the distribution across both the UK and Europe. And I had to stop, and I just found myself literally back on the treadmill, and I'd set myself a goal. And it's like going back to the early days. I set myself a business maturity at 1st of September. And for me, it's not having a day job. Meaning if I didn't turn up for a week or a month, it didn't matter. Okay. Yeah. Now, I'm not talking about leaving the place rudderless. Okay. I'm talking about making sure it's back to that thing of a shared vision with common values. Yeah. Okay. And we're probably over the next, where we were in the middle of July, by the 1st of September, we'll probably have taken on another 4 or 5 people. And making sure, and we're doing that because once we get through September, you're going to have the Black Friday and all that stuff kicking off, and the volumes. So we're in a situation now that on a Monday, when you come in on Monday, you can't actually get, if Monday's a bank holiday and we come in on Tuesday, we can't get out. We just physically can't get it out. So we're going to start a Sunday shift, which will take, they'll get about 300 or 400 orders done and take a bit of pressure out of the system. So you start to ask, this is what happens, okay? So whenever you look at this idea of having a business maturity date, so what does my business need to look like? It then gets you to ask a different question. So I needed to take some time and sit and say, John, okay, what's the new business maturity? So the 1st of September, what do you want it to look like on the 1st of September? I don't have a day job. So what does that need to look like for you not to have a day job? That then starts to ask the questions, okay? So it all starts with, Jim Rohn would say, start with the end in mind. What's the result you're looking for? If you don't know what result you want, sure, any road will take you. So you got to know what it is you want. Success is relatively simple. A, where am I? B, where do I want to get to? What's the next 1 or 2 steps? But you better know where you are and where you want to get to. That's the purpose of it.
Sounds like things are quite busy at the moment for you.
That's fucking mental.
So tell me, how do you unplug then? How do you disconnect?
growing a bit of age, have a glass of wine. I mean, I read a lot.
Yeah.
You know, I talk a lot.
Do you find that
I don't feel as if I need to unplug or something. I don't.
Do you feel you're constantly switched on, or do you feel you're in control at this stage of your mindset, where you're at? You know that come 6 o'clock or whenever it is that you want to call your day a day and work, that's it. You've left yourself at work and now you're at home, and you're fully committed when you're at home.
Would you send an email at 7 o'clock in the evening?
Yeah, I'll be on a phone call at 11 o'clock at night to somebody.
Right, so
We've
you're
got clients in
constantly-
Vancouver. I mean, but it's back to this. I don't see it.
You're not
I don't really see it as work.
It's not as work, so you
You know,
enjoy
all I do
every
is have a
single
y-
thing you do.
I
Yeah,
mean-
yeah,
You can only say what do you do, John? Well, I have a yarn. That's what I talk.
yeah.
That's mostly what I do. You know, so, and we talked about earlier on about I'm trying really hard not to manage my business, so try and lead your business. So I'm asking questions as opposed to making the decisions.
Yeah.
So get other people involved. What do you reckon, lads? I mean, you figure it out. You know, and so that the energy in the place changes. People take, they take ownership of it.
Yeah, they get excited to take
You know,
ownership.
there was this
yeah.
morning we had a client in yesterday. We were doing something in it about, I don't know, 400 or 500 parcels or 300, whatever it was, and we were trying to do an upload with Royal Mail, and there was some issue with it. I mean, Laura, one of the girls in the office, like, she came in this morning before 7 o'clock to get it done. Before, I mean,
Yeah.
I never.
Where would you get it?
know,
That's
just
brilliant. Yeah.
to get our own.
Brilliant.
So it's back to this thing. I think as a business owner, your job is to create the environment.
So where do you think her headspace is then? Where do you think her mindset is for her to get up at 7 and to come in off her own back and do that sort of task without being asked to just...
Because she took pride in what she does. I'd imagine she feels good about herself about doing a good job.
Is it to do with the environment that you've created in the workplace, the culture you've created? And not for me to use the word empowerment, but the autonomy and
Yeah, I mean,
culture.
I'd like to think we've got that environment where, I mean, nobody checks in, nobody checks out. I mean, you need to go, you just go and do it. I mean, but
Yeah.
I've always said, look here, just look right and left, right? Because what every one of us does has an impact, and the person before is the person after. And just don't drop it, no silos.
Yeah.
And, I'm working this. So one of the things is for each of the different, because we got now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different warehouses. So making each of them a separate little P&L and sitting down and teaching them how to read the balance sheet and profit and loss. So we've got 5 clients in this warehouse. That's the revenue. There's all the costs. That's your costs, and that's what's left. Okay. Start to teach.
Yeah.
And so what we'll do, every 6 months we'll take 20% of that and share it. Now, you get 10% of your own unit, and the other 10% will come from the overall group. So if you see something in one of the other warehouses that you reckon could make an impact, you've got a vested interest. And it's amazing how that can work.
Yeah. They all take a piece of ownership of it and they treat it like it's their own. Yeah.
And it is, I mean, it's back to this thing of, this is not what I'm saying, but if you would only work harder, I'd be able to make more money.
Yeah.
So Paddy, would you ever get the finger out? I'm not saying it, but it's what maybe Paddy's thinking.
That's the message.
Yeah.
It's the underlying feeling. Yeah.
So how's that going to work? So it's bringing people with you.
Yeah.
And
Reward everybody for the effort, yeah.
Exactly. And then also, and we've got a little bit of challenge around some of this here, European employment law and all this type of thing. But in the States, like one of the things, Chuck, is where you have the other 4 or 5 people that work with you, you each give each other a score.
Right.
And if you get below an 8 over the next 3 months or whatever, then cheerio. So it's more, look at what they see. He talked about this, management by the lowest common denominator. So Stephen's always on the phone. So the manager comes out with the thing, right? Everybody has to leave their phones in the car. He's the only gab that's on the phone all the bloody time, but the manager hasn't got the guts to go and deal with him. So now he pisses you off. You're never on your phone except when you have to be.
Yeah.
Now he pisses you off because I have to leave my phone in the car.
Very true.
And that's what happens in a lot of businesses. So that's management, not leadership.
Rewarding yourself as a business owner, how important is it, and what have you done along the way?
I'm not a cheap date.
Something about you tells me that, all right.
Again, I don't particularly.
Doesn't have to be material, you know.
Yeah, I mean, so my intention was to build a client base around the world and go and visit them.
Yeah.
So that was my thing. I mean, I travelled, went to see people, and I learnt phenomenal stuff, and the impact it's had on our own kids. I mean, so I always brought clients home, and obviously the way I grew up at home, you know, my dad was always bring your friends home. He thought my dad was dead on, but all he was doing was checking out everybody.
Yeah.
You know, and again, one of the things he'd said later on was, "Son, don't do business with somebody you wouldn't bring home for dinner."
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
That is really, I mean, seriously. And
That's priceless.
I freaking broke that on a few occasions, and I'd come back to eat me. I remember one time in particular, I went out for dinner with this guy, and the way home, Lorraine was with us, he and his wife, and Lorraine on the way home said, "John, something about that guy, I just don't like it." What the hell would you know about business? £400,000 later, she was right.
Oh, well. Wow.
But, so, trust me, I mean...
Trust your guts.
Yeah, trust your gut, yeah.
Yeah, and, you know, it is very important that in the company you keep and where you're going, and I don't know, we as men, our egos get stroked very easily, so just building an awareness and a conscious of that would be helpful.
The principle you were talking about with everybody being collectively in and working kind of a different culture, what happens and how often would it happen that the wrong person, that doesn't appeal to everybody? Some people are in to do the bare minimum, or they'll take advantage of your soft approach, your kindness, this is new to them, and they come in and say, you can get away with skiving here, or
they abuse the system.
Yeah. So the system, it's a bit like if you Marks and Spencer's, going back a bit. Marks and Spencer's, if you bought something at Marks and Spencer's, if you had it 2 years and you brought it back, they'd have replaced it for you. Then a guy called Rose, I think was his name, came in as the new CEO, and he changed that. Marks and Spencer's has never made money in fashion since the day he brought that in. Yes, people abused it, but if you're going to make your rules so that people don't abuse them, that's the wrong. Go back to the heart behind it. Okay, so yes, on occasion the wrong person might get in, but it's my job to make sure to help them back out.
Yeah.
Okay?
Very good.
And I'll have the conversation with them. I have no issue in sitting around and saying, now, if you want to stay like that, you're not welcome. But if you want to, you got to change. Okay. And the problem, I think part of the challenge in society today is that we're consumed with ourselves. I mean, seriously consumed with ourselves. It is all, I'm not jokingly saying, but yes, everybody's favourite radio is, WIFM, what's in it for me, but it's been now taken to a new level altogether.
Yeah.
And so just have that conversation, and, how do you expect, and sometimes, I remember one time, this is quite a while back, somebody said to me about, as a business owner, you're going to end up in the way society is today. And he said it in a way, and it really struck me. He says, "John, do you ever think about you're going to end up being a father to the fatherless? A lot of kids growing up without a father in the home and all this type of stuff." And that always struck a chord with me. And so,
not necessarily a bad thing.
No, but so that to engage with people in conversation, and sometimes you have to be vulnerable before somebody else will be vulnerable. And so I find it quite interesting getting in conversation, and I meet people, saying, I've been bust before and bankrupt or whatever, and all of a sudden then people will open up because they think they're the only ones. So
an endearing trait.
We don't have to have this facade that, hey, I've got all my shit together.
Yeah, nobody has their shit together.
No,
nobody does.
So
if everybody was like that, it'd be a lot easier.
Well, it's not I can't fix everybody. All I can do is try and fix me and try and be a better version of me tomorrow than I am today. And I can only do that if I'm conscious and if I take the time and look and see how do I make a better decision, how do I encourage a bit more. And if I can get through life being an encourager, I'll do okay.
Well,
would you encourage your own children to start a business, or would you hand them over, say, listen, I want you to come in and run my business?
Well, it's interesting. Okay, so the oldest Amy is 30, so she lives in England. She's no interest. She's gone. So when COVID hit, Tara, the baby, who'll be 21 in August. So this is last March. I said, so she was at uni, and then uni went. They knocked it in the head for a while, and she came into the office. She was the only one in the office on her own and run that business.
Wow.
From nothing. Now she's doing economics and something in university, and this is her third year, so it's placement. So she's got a job somewhere else.
Yeah.
And Lorcan, my son, he just graduated, and he's in working in the warehouse and doing stuff. But I'm saying, go and get a job, get out of here, go and work somewhere else 3 or 5 years, and come back if you're interested. I would hate them to feel obliged or feel that pressurized to work in a place, and then this isn't what I want to do. So it's got to be their choice.
If you look back over the last, say, couple of decades that you've had your business and you've gone bust and you've been successful, and the different trials and tribulations along the way, do you ever reflect on anything that, any defining moment that you would change, that you'd go, in business, where you could have, where you made a mistake, where you felt that if that mistake hadn't happened, you might have changed the course, or like, have you any regrets in business?
Not so much regrets. Sort of wish maybe some of the pain hadn't been as severe.
Yeah.
In a sort of masochistic way, maybe it was all necessary.
Yeah.
Losing the house was painful.
The big one.
Where did you go, by the way? Just
I had a mate Noel, and I rang him up and said I'll have to be out of here on Friday, or Friday morning by 9 o'clock. So
yeah.
He says, "Sure, come on, move in with us." And it's funny how things work. Noel's wife, God love her, at the time had cancer, and I think we were with them from the 18th of August to the 30th of October.
Yeah.
And just Lorraine being there and able to help Ranella a bit, and Noel was able to get out a bit. You sometimes, geez, was this part of the plan or something? Was there something else going on beyond us?
Yeah.
And it's funny, the kids never knew.
Wow.
They hadn't a clue.
Right.
that's great.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yes.
So everything for a purpose. And
Absolutely.
Purpose, yeah.
Absolutely.
100%.
Well, the 3 to 5 Club is something that myself and Paddy, we came along.
That's where we met.
That's where we met. You were
Yeah.
hosting it. We were there for 2 years, and we learnt so many things, which is obviously evident from the past hour of listening to you.
Valuable things.
And valuable stuff that it took us from where we were with a business that we didn't really know what we were doing. We didn't have a vision.
Mindset was wrong.
Yeah, and we changed very much over that time. And
Yeah.
we took on so much advice, and we listened to so many books on your recommendation.
Yeah.
The Art of Possibility that you mentioned earlier. I sing about that all the time. What a book. So for other business owners who may be tuned in, give us a little insight to how it works currently.
Okay. Well, Chuck wrote this book called How Making Money is Killing Your Business. Okay. And when I met him, and I met Chuck in April 2003 at a conference in Florida, and there was just something about this man. But anyway, we'll not get there. I need pints to tell that story. And so I said to him, how making money is killing your business. And he says, when you're focused on making money, you're not focused on building a business that makes money when you're not there. And it goes back to the vision and the purpose of things. Okay, when you've got clarity around that then drives the decision making, drives the questions. So if I'm building a business that will make money when I'm not there, I will make a different decision and ask a different question, as opposed to just how do I make money in the business that I'm in. And that's the challenge for most of us. Okay, so we get into business to make money, and we don't know we haven't even got a definition of the number or anything. We just in to make money, whatever, and we'll figure it out, type of thing. So the 3 to 5 Club came from the concept that Chuck believed you could take any business from a standing start, and within 3 to 5 years build a mature business, in that you're not the sole producer, and 2, you could leave it for a month and it would continue to make money when you're not there.
Brilliant.
And that's what it's about. And it's one of those books that you would read many times. It's a principle. He talks about your ideal lifestyle.
He also refers to his good friend in Ireland.
Yes.
John Heenan.
John Heenan.
Yeah, don't let that fool you. But yeah, I mean, some of those principles, and again, the 7 stages of business ownership, and when you read them and you look at that and see where I'm at, and you start to look, and it says the emotion, where the business owner is from an emotional point of view, and it's just, wow. Yeah. It is brilliant. Yeah. I mean, the man is a genius. There's no doubt about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got so much out of it. It actually changed our whole course, our whole journey.
Yeah. And it's interesting, and I often sit and think to myself, on occasion, geez, if I'd have met Chuck Blakeman 20 years before, I might have saved myself an awful lot of pain and grief. Yeah. Truth be told, if I'd have met Chuck Blakeman 20 years before, I wouldn't have listened to him. So
you wouldn't have listened. You
wouldn't have listened.
So far up my own backside, sure, and knew all the answers. What the fuck do I need to listen to him for?
Yeah.
And there is a little bit off when the pupil's ready, the teacher appears. And one of the other things too, which is important, most of us are not hurting enough to change. You're comfortable. It's a bit of a pain now and again, but it's not hurting you enough, so you're not actually willing to do something about it.
Yeah.
And that's the problem for most of us. And so what's happened with COVID, that could be the best blessing ever, because you actually have to go and do something. You may have lost your job, you may have lost business, you're going to have to think differently, you're going to ask a different question. It's a blessing.
That's true.
What it is.
A lot of positives with it.
100%.
Yeah. Currently, we went to the 3 to 5. We were in person. We were in Sandyford, and you had a branch running in Belfast and Galway. Is that right? Yeah. Currently, how do you do that?
So we do it on Zoom.
Yeah.
God bless Zoom. And that's been an education. And I was saying to you, Paddy, earlier on, I think I found it painful, and I resented it probably for about the first 3 to 4 months. I found it very strange. And then Seamus, one of the guys in the group, had a real good chat with him, and so we changed the format a bit, breakout rooms, a bit more. And the buzz, it is just incredible, the difference in
brilliant.
it. But it's the same information, but it's they say questions are the answers.
Yeah.
And how do I get me to ask the better question is really...
Who's the ideal person to go to the 3 to 5 club, and what can they expect to...
What would they get out of it?
Yeah.
Ideal person, a business owner. If you're not a business owner, it's not for you. It's about owning a business.
Yeah. Any particular size of company, any stage of the company?
Generally, I mean, if you don't have employees, at least they have aspirations, probably up to about 20 employees, turning maybe 5-10 million. But hey, we've had guys that had 50 employees and turning more than that.
Yeah.
It's more to do with the individual.
Yeah.
The principle behind it is, on the back of his book, it says, use your business to live your ideal lifestyle.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. So how to use your business, and how, instead of it using you.
I remember you using the phrase, get your business to work for you, not you to work for your business. And that when I heard that phrase, then it kind of just penny dropped. And I said, I want to get into this. Yeah. It's really good.
Another thing, just when Paddy says that, I remember Paddy coming away saying, John used the phrase, playing office. He says, I'm always playing office, I'm going to change that.
Yeah, you come in and you just ruffle papers and
you make yourself busy for the day.
Yeah.
And I've had this conversation with me when I look at the COVID thing over the last, what the hell did you do today?
What am I actually here for?
And I said, why am I in here? Yeah. Well, I've nowhere else to go. That's the truth.
Yeah.
Couldn't stay at home. That's not staying there. I get a job to do, so fuck it, I'm not staying at home. Yeah. I may as well go into work. And I was just playing on, and I had to seriously have a conversation with myself, John. I mean, go and do something. Go and read a book. Go and talk to somebody. Do something. Put some purpose into the day. And that's the bit, I suppose. It was for a lot of people, it nearly was like a semi-retirement or a trial run at retirement. And for an awful lot of us, I thought, shit.
Yeah,
it's not what I thought it would be.
I actually got when I went in there that day, and I heard you talking about the term playing office, and then I scanned the room, and so many of the guys were nodding their heads like in agreement. Yeah, we all do this. We are all, we're all guilty of doing it. And I actually thought it was just me, and I think that's part of what we're trying to do here as well. Is normalize some of the things that you think you just do yourself. Mm-hmm. But when I realized that it wasn't just me, and that everybody from time to time will play office and not really, it actually was it was a turning point for me where I got more focused, and I realized, hang on, okay, so this is not just me, and this needs to change, and then everything that we learned from the 3 to 5 we started to put into practice, and it just had it made a profound difference to our business. I mean,
one of the real important things is getting to understand there is a thing called quality time. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I don't mean to offend anybody, but okay.
Yeah.
If I haven't offended you, I'm not trying hard enough. You hear people talk about spending quality time with their children.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. Children do not understand quality time. Children only understand quantity time. Your business understands quality time. Look at what you get done the day or two before you go on holidays. You're focused with a deadline. You've got to get it done.
Like a ninja.
Okay? If we did that, and then go and collect the kid, finish at 3 o'clock, collect the kids from school and go and do something with them, that's what we're talking about, the difference between your business understands quality time. Start to spend quality times. Don't be playing the offices bit when you're just doing the quantity time.
Yeah.
Wanting to be. I mean, an awful lot of us as business owners think we have to be first in, last out. Who the hell made that rule?
Oh,
Yeah. No, we did say in episode 1 that myself and Paddy probably work 20, 25 hours a week, and that is quality time. We learned that from the 3 to 5. We're coming in like a ninja,
focused,
mad productive, because we've just dropped the kids to school. We've got a window now of a couple of hours to get things done, get lunch in between,
and then we're gone.
You know, you've got things to do. You might have to pick up the kids, whatever. Real life things where you don't feel guilty anymore for leaving earlier than everyone else, or for coming in later, because you're being productive. I remember asking you that. Do you not feel guilty? You know, you're running off to do things, or you know, you're leaving the staff of the office and they're doing more hours than you. I think your response was something along the lines of, well, they can go and set up a business and do the same thing if they want. Well, that's very true, you know.
And that's the bottom line. I mean, and I've said, I mean, any of us want to start a business, give us a shout. I'll back you, put some money in and help you.
Even that piece of advice I left that day, right,
guilt-free.
I have permission now to do the things that I want to do once I do the work in between. It was very good, you know. So thanks for that, John.
Thank you very much, John. Yeah.
So on that note, I think we'll say thanks very much for coming in today. It's been absolutely brilliant. You're full of so much wisdom. It's exceeded all expectations. It's been great to refresh all that stuff we learned.
Good.
As I was saying earlier, I intend on rejoining the 3 to 5 now, so I can get back into all that.
Well, you'll be more than welcome.
Yeah, really looking forward to it. And is there anything else you'd like to throw in there at the end?
No, I think, I mean,
have you any
you're not on
your.
I mean, it's important for business owners. You need to get some outside eyes.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. You need to get some outside eyes, because making decisions in a vacuum is not a smart thing to do, and you'll end up living with the consequences much longer than you thought. So, you get some outside eyes in your business.
Brilliant. Right. Well, on that note, we'll wrap up. Thanks very much. That's the end of episode 3.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, John. Much appreciated.
Okay. Thanks. There you go.